Greetings, everyone. My name is Buck Business, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Walking Dead episode 14, The Other Side. So, we are quickly approaching the season finale, I believe. So, we get a little bit of a mini flashback of Sasha preparing the other Hilltop members before Rosita had arrived. So, Rosita gives some time for Sasha to prepare to head out to go to the Savior territory. Meanwhile, we see Jesus talking with Maggie about living life, and Maggie told him about the freedom of being in a relationship, even if it was once, which Sasha overheard, which probably is foreshadowing for the end of the episode as to what Sasha does. Anyways, I'm a little bit glad that we got a little bit more of a glimpse to the character of Jesus. Anyways, we join him and Enid as they talk with Sasha, as they are aware of her plans once Maggie had left. And there's a lot of other little cutting bits here in the middle, I feel. Between Maggie and Daryl hiding from this guy and the music that plays to accompany that later on when they cut back to that. And the whole thing with the leader of the Hilltop, who is trying his best to not lose his doctor, but knowing the saviors, that isn't gonna work out quite as well. So he does lose the doctor, but he does seem to gain access to the Savior compound. At least that's what is implied. And we also see that Daryl, who's hiding with Maggie, after they come out, I believe, he apologizes for Glenn's death because he had, he was the one that had spoke up, so he still carried that burden of thinking that it was on him. And, I'm starting to see more of what type of character Daryl is, and, I think it's one of those things where when you first see him, he's sort of that character who's really quick to jump onto, like, oh, he's just a jerk type character. But he's done quite a few things, I think. He's been relentless on his search for that young girl in season 2, even though later on he goes on to, like, trying these different groups. He's always on the lookout for, like, some sort of escape. And his connection with Carol also is something that, is very grounded in a very mutual friendship that cannot be denied, I think. Anyways, I think out of the moments we have seen with Daryl, this is one of his better moments, at least in my opinion. His apology. And of course, Maggie herself wanted to do something as well, but she knew what consequences that would yield since the other saviors were still there. So they're going to continue to wait it out. And we cut back to Sasha and Rosita as they are now communicating toward the end of the episode. We see Rosita talk about where she's learned her various skills, like tying those little ropes and hot wiring cars, and I believe there was one other, but I don't remember what it was. But it felt like at first glance, Rosita was going to be the one to go in because that is usually the trope of The Walking Dead. You have that character who has that big monologue and then they end up getting, like, axed off or killed. Just another way of putting it, but this time they reversed that, and then Rosita was at the fence later on, and yeah, we see what becomes of that. But we do cut back to a little glimpse of more of the leader of the hilltop and him wanting nothing to do with Jesus, which I do believe is going to have a heavy impact on the next episode, based on the clip that I saw for the next week's episode. I believe the middle was a bit fast paced, and these character moments are a little bit too sporadic. I believe the beginning and the end held the most interesting parts with Jesus, and then with Rosita and Sasha. The other moments, besides the one with Daryl, I felt were a little bit weaker. Just didn't have enough time to pan all of those out, but I think it did well enough. So yeah, I believe like the second half of the episode is a bit more interesting than the first part. But as I was implying earlier, Sasha ends up being the one to lock herself into the Savior's compound, and Rosita is the one who gets to go back. And I think that also is an implication of what Gabriel had been talking about over and over with her about this whole. I believe it was either her or Sasha. I don't remember. I think it was Rosita, but I could be wrong. Anyways, this episode had a bit more going on, but this usually ends up being the case as we get closer and closer to the season finale. We see more different characters acting a little bit more sporadically. That tends to be the case, so I'm not that surprised that that happened here, and that won't surprise me if that continues to be the trend until the season finale. At any rate, I believe that's enough for this episode, so if you did like this review, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, farewell, everyone.